we've got some returnees from last year. Anyway, my name's Mikey. What's your name?
Alex.
And?
Left terrace. Left terrace.
Yep.
Simeon.
Martin.
And come and sit down. Come and sit down around the table.
Don't be embarrassed, come on.
Don't be embarrassed.
No one wants to hear what you have
Yep,
to say.
exactly. Okay, so what we're going to talk about, we only just started, we don't know what, it could be absolutely anything. It doesn't have to be about science, or maybe everything is science, so maybe there's nothing we can talk about which isn't science. I don't know. Anyone got any ideas, any thoughts?
Oh, Alexis, since you've got a good thought. What did you talk about last year?
Last year we talked about should we genetically modify humans to make them better, or
Okay,
to
yeah,
make
so similar to-
disadvantaged humans
Yeah.
to a normal level?
Ghosts?
Oh yeah, and then we were talking about do ghosts exist,
Right,
and how we can
yeah,
tell that if they're
yeah. How can you tell? Yeah, okay. Did any of those strike you as interesting things to talk about?
No.
No?
I don't
Okay.
know that.
But you've got superheroes on your t-shirt and you don't want to talk about genetically modifying humans to be better. Because that's what superheroes are all about, surely.
Okay, but I mean, surely certainly with the Incredible Hulk, it's not all good, is it? Because he suffers,
I don't
doesn't
know,
he?
would you want to be the Incredible Hulk?
Would you want to be the Incredible Hulk?
No.
Do you ever get angry?
Yeah.
You wouldn't like him when he's but you wouldn't like him when he's angry.
But what do people like you when you're angry?
Yeah. No.
Okay, maybe we can talk about this. Maybe we could talk. Hello, come and have a seat on the table of chat. Do you ever get angry? Do you go green? Would you volunteer for a science project where you were genetically modified to go green and get really strong when you're angry? Okay, well, come and sit down. Come and talk about it.
So I think I was going to see the robots.
Well, give us a couple of minutes and then go to the robots and then come back again and tell us about the robots. So we're just starting off right now. We have got Rowan, we've got Martin, we've got Simeon, left terrace, and Alex, and what's your name?
Drew.
And I'm Mikey. We've got chewing the fat, trying to find out what the big subject's going to be today. Is it going to be genetic modification? Yesterday, actually, genetic modification was seen as a potential way to save the planet, because if everyone's future generations were like this big, then they'd consume less resources, so you could have many, many more people. But do you see genetic modification as a way forward?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay, and can you give us an example?
With plants and things like
Yeah.
that, like making them more efficient,
Yeah.
grow bigger yields.
Yeah?
I think
What do you
that's-
mean yields?
So the effort you put into growing them
Yeah?
creates more food
Right,
than you get out
okay.
of it right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's one example.
Okay, Alex?
I think they're doing it here. They were genetically modifying mosquitoes, so they
Right.
could only make a male offspring, which meant
Right.
that no less spread of malaria and
Okay.
other diseases that are caused by mosquitoes.
Would that work for human beings?
Well, no, but it would reduce the death. It would cause less deaths
Okay.
via diseases, and we wouldn't
Right.
have to spend as much money on medication.
What,
for
if there
stuff
are only
like-
male humans?
Well, no. I mean,
Oh, for mosquitoes? you're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about- Yeah, okay, right.
What about if we genetically modify humans so they don't need so much food?
Okay. How would you
And
do that?
equally,
You
we
make
could
them
we-
less hungry?
You make them more metabolically efficient.
Right, okay. So why bother with the plants? In a way, it's a bit like going round the houses to solve the food problem. Why not just genetically modify people so they consume less food?
That's dangerous, man.
Yeah? You think it's dangerous?
Do you want
Why?
to mess around with us? You want to keep us...
Yeah, okay.
It's the same.
Yeah,
So the Americans are doing it already. You either enhance performance with drugs,
yeah.
you make people sleep less, so you get more time out of them per unit
Okay.
food.
Okay, so it's already happening. Maybe not the genetic modification, but lifestyle modifications, changing our metabolism with a few drugs. So it's only one step away from genetic modification.
Firstly, so that leads to sort of epigenetic changes that change you even after you've had your code
What
sort
was
of laid down.
what's epigenetic?
Epigenetics is where your genes are actually malleable as you grow. So
Yeah.
environmental things can actually change you fundamentally, and therefore your children as well.
What-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if we evolved over a cycle of 100 years, we might become extinct if there was a major event. So potentially, we need to adapt much more rapidly than we normally do.
This is a major event, Imperial College Festival, and we don't want to become extinct after this, do we?
Are we different just by talking to you?
I don't know. Do you feel different, Drew?
I think it's a little bit enlightening. It's good to talk
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
These things. Good to talk, isn't it?
So that's a yes. Okay, so where are we going to go with this? I feel that you think that it's somehow wrong to modify ourselves to solve some of these problems. Yep.
Can I just go back to Martin's book? Because I was intrigued by it. I thought of making us more metabolically efficient. I love that idea because it would mean one fundamental change that would improve everybody's lives. We'd never have to go to the toilet again if we really used everything that kind of like went in us. We could get rid of how much real estate does a toilet take up in your house? We could get rid of those.
Okay.
It'd be fantastic. And how amazing would Glastonbury be if you didn't have to go to the toilet?
Okay, so
And if what little water you produced you could drink safely,
yeah,
and the byproducts were in some way useful,
yeah.
that would be good.
Okay,
Nice.
but like companies such as Stella Artois would go bankrupt instantly.
No, but you could have urine Artois,
Yeah, you could.
and it could be an imperial beer.
Imperial beer. Okay, so
And
we're
it could be sold
Yeah.
in the hemoglobin.
yes, it could. Hemoglobin, some lovely ales going on over there. Do get yourself a drink. Rick's already helped himself to something dark. Anyway, where are we going to go with this conversation? What do we want to talk? What do you think about this? Would you modify yourself? Okay, we've already found out you wouldn't turn yourself green when you get angry. But what about making yourself more efficient at digesting food so you never had to go to the toilet again? Would you do that?
Couscous.
Okay. Would you genetically modify yourself? Tough question, I know. It's a tough one. Yeah, you okay? Okay, so would you genetically?
Yeah, obviously there'd have to be quite a rigorous
Yeah.
scientific process. I don't know
Yeah.
if I'd do it like as a prototype or initially. I'd have to see like.
So you wouldn't want to be the first to
No.
genetically modify themselves?
I really would like to be genetically modified, but I don't think I would sacrifice my well-being just to
Right, okay,
be the
so-
first one.
I mean, it's interesting because yesterday we were talking about teleportation, and I said there was one person who was really into teleportation. I said, would you be the first person to try this out? Because there was a big worry that if you were going to teleport yourself, you might be structurally perfect on the other side, but would you be a blank person? So the answer to that was this kid said, oh, well, let's throw a dog in first, see if that works. So would it be the same with genetic modification?
Well, how would you know? Because you'd have had to have teleported someone to the observation port.
Yeah. You would. It would have to be a person, really, wouldn't it?
It would have to be.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is Talkaoke. Come and have a seat on the table of chat. We're talking about self-experimentation, really. Would you experiment on yourself? Are you willing to be the person that is the guinea pig? Or would you rather have it done on a guinea pig? That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
I'd rather have it done on a guinea pig
Why?
because it could be dangerous.
Okay, so it's okay for the guinea pig then, I suppose? Is it?
Yeah,
All right.
because at least it's not me.
Okay, so, all right, so in a way we're talking about experimentation on animals. What do you think about this? Genetic modification, should it be tried on guinea pigs or dogs first?
I think some people have problems with that. They might
Yeah.
not like it. Animal testing, but it still happens, doesn't it? So,
Yeah. Have you got a view on it?
Yeah, I think it's okay. I don't mind. I think it's
Yeah.
okay.
You think it's all right?
Yeah,
I mean,
because we've cured a lot of things by doing this in the past.
yeah.
So
What have we quit? What have we cured?
I watched a documentary the other night
Yeah.
on chimpanzee hepatitis testing
Right.
back in the 60s, 70s down in
Yeah.
Africa. So we came up with ways to cure, not necessarily cure it, but treat it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Interesting.
that's one example I know
Yeah,
of.
okay.
I know of, yeah.
Okay. What do you think about that? Would you experiment on chimpanzees to cure hepatitis?
Yeah, it depends what for. My mantra in life is I don't hurt things for pleasure, but then if it's a survival issue where curing diseases counts, then yeah, I think animal experimentation in that respect
Yeah.
is quite good. It's cosmetic testing, I think, is...
What
sort
about
of,
genetically modify? Would you, for example, do this genetic modification that you suggested, in fact, about
about increasing
Would
efficiency?
you do that on a chimpanzee first?
Well, I mean, it seems like it could only, assuming it went well, it could only improve the life of a thing. So, I mean, so long
Yeah.
as it was
Well, what about-
simulated in
What about
advance,
if it
then
went badly?
I mean, these days they tend to test things firstly virtually, then on like cell cultures and stuff like that before it ever goes into an animal, and then they start it on like simple animals and work their way up to more complicated animals.
So you think that chimpanzee is not taking too much of a risk?
Exactly. If they're testing on a chimp, which I'm pretty sure is illegal these days anyway, it's so close to a human that it's probably going to be okay.
I mean, won't that chimp be thinking, why am I not going to the toilet anymore?
He's probably loving it. He's thinking, right, I can now swing around the trees for a couple of hours longer and not have to.
Come down and use the tree or whatever. I don't know. Yeah.
Less banana leaves.
Are there any zoologists here? We've got a zoological question about chimpanzees. Anyway, Alex.
I think if we kill animals for meat and if we hunt innocent like sables and stuff for fur, I don't see what's wrong with genetically modifying animals for the betterment of humans, because we do that already for our food and for our fashion.
So it's just the tip of the iceberg, this chimpanzee experiment.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than killing it and eating it for meat. So.
Okay, all right.
Well, it's partially justifiable, but of course they don't have a voice, do they? And we'd only justify things that suit ourselves.
What about if you could genetically modify the chimpanzee to have a voice?
That would be interesting. And then we'd have to have a council as well. But they'd have to have equal rights.
Okay, interesting. So if you did genetically modify a chimpanzee, would it have equal rights to a human being? If it had a voice, I mean...
We'd have to give it equal rights. We'd have to positively discriminate the underprivileged, wouldn't we?
Okay.
It's something that is actually genuinely being debated in the US. I think they lost the case, but they were trying to get human rights laws to cover chimpanzees, bonobos, and orangutans, I think.
Yeah.
So those are like the three closest to humans. And I think they were very close, and it certainly set some precedents. So it's an interesting time. But I think when we talk about animal experimentation, to bring in higher apes is a little bit unrealistic because they don't test on them. So it can only ever be a thought experiment. If it's kind of like lower monkeys and stuff like that, then they still test on that.
I mean, okay, this is your experiment anyway. What would you test it on first? This genetic modification.
Well, it depends what genetic. So this is still the one about like being more efficient and not going to the toilet.
Like super efficient digestion.
Well,
so
you start it with like rodents and stuff like that, or even simpler creatures than that, and then work your way up. And because if it does something bad, then obviously you stop at that point. You do it until it goes right, and then you work your way up to the next thing.
Would you be the first to volunteer?
The first. So assuming it's gone through all the different stages and it's ready for human trials. Yeah, why not?
Okay.
These trials tend to pay quite well as well.
Yes. Okay, so you'd make a bit of money out of it on the side as well. Okay, so where do we want to take this conversation? Do we want to talk about the future of are we going to be modified human beings? Are we already modified human beings? You say yes. Come and have a seat on the table of chat. I'll try and explain where the conversation's gone so far. Okay. Somehow we got to genetic modification. I think it was from the Incredible Hulk who... we started off talking about the Incredible Hulk, who's genetically modified so that when he gets angry he goes green and sort of has increased muscle mass. But then we talked about, would you genetically modify yourself? Rowan over here would like to see humans genetically modified so their metabolism is much more efficient, so they consume less food, solved a lot of the resource problems of the world in one fell swoop. But then the question came, who would be the first to do the experiment? And so the idea was potentially you could experiment on chimpanzees, but then is it right to do that? And that's where we are right now.
Maybe we don't need to use genetic modification. Maybe we just need to internalize more of our technology in humans.
Right.
So nanotechnology, insert stuff into our brains, put things in our blood systems.
Yeah, or in our guts, in fact.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
So if we're machine assisted, we won't need to use so much energy to move ourselves.
Okay. Would you swallow some nanotechnology that helps you digest food more efficiently, so you only needed like one burger a week? What's your name, first of all?
Anurag.
And
Adam.
And we got Drew, we got Alex, we got Left Terrace, Simeon, Martin, and Rowan. My name's Mikey. So Anurag, would you do this?
Probably not, because you don't know the side effects of swallowing like new technology and.
But what about if it's been tested on chimpanzees first? Would you feel more comfortable?
Maybe, just slightly, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, what was your name again?
Adam.
Adam, would you do it?
Yeah, if it's like been tested over a period of time, which it's been recognised as safe.
So the testing it seems to be very important. This testing to make sure it's safe. Yep.
Oh, I think it's really dangerous putting some electronics in your body because in the same way lots of people can hack computers.
Yeah.
If you had a computer in your gut controlling what you ate, potentially that could be very dangerous if they hacked that. So.
So it could get hacked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Already happened, hasn't it?
Yes, it.
Yeah, implantable cardiac defibrillators can be hacked very easily.
I saw that on Homeland.
It's the truth. So you can induce a VF arrest in someone who has one, just like that, if you're clever enough to communicate with the device.
No way.
So in fact, we've got a time bomb already that's ticking in a lot of people's chests.
Okay, you're disagreeing.
No, I'm just saying, that's terrible.
That's terrible. Yeah. Okay, you're going. Oh, terrible. But people do. So would you have a computer in your gut that stops you from being hungry, helped you digest stuff, or are you worried about it being hacked? Just like that scene in Homeland where the vice president gets his pacemaker hacked. This is what we're talking about. This is Talkaoke. Come and have a seat on the table of chat. Well, we're here all day. Come back.
What we really need is a serial port on our brains.
Yeah.
We want to be pushing some dreams in and taking the dreams out. I mean, getting some value out of them. I mean, there's Hollywood. They're making up fantasies. What we need to do is take real fantasies.
So dream harvesting.
Yeah, and pipe them. And you can have like an affiliation with certain people who have very vivid dreams.
You could stream your dreams.
Yeah, and you could get different diets that give you different types of dreams.
I had a great dream last night.
Did you?
I'm not going to go into it right now.
I think we talked about this last year, but uploading your thoughts to the cloud.
Yeah.
I think that could be.
Are you not worried just with the same as the computer in your gut getting hacked? You're not worried that your thoughts might get hacked?
Yeah, I know, but like, say you're doing a project, like a group, wouldn't it be so much easier instead of like getting your phone out or even like sending an email, just like you upload it to the cloud and then everyone automatically gets it in their brain and then they could contribute and they don't even have to get their phone from their pocket.
Yeah. I mean, but do you want your thoughts? Do people want? Would you like your thoughts uploaded to the cloud?
Only the good ones. Yeah.
Only the good ones. So you'd have to make sure that it was only the good ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So there's a bit of how do you actually do that, Adam? Thoughts upload? Would you do that?
Yeah. I would, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, would you upload your thoughts to the cloud?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'd like to join the brains of others who have uploaded.
So it's like a mind melds kind of thing.
Yeah, well, you could leverage the power of other people's brains to your own.
What about all those like slightly embarrassing thoughts, or like, oh, I can't believe, you just like I can't believe that shirt that guy's wearing. What does he think? Who does he think he is? You don't want that thought to go out there, but it's just in there. Do you know what I mean? What do you do about those kind of thoughts?
That's just like crowdsourcing at the moment. If everyone thought that, then that would be what people would. That would be the opinion. So it'd be like crowd braining.
Yeah.
Everyone could say that is a disgusting shirt you're wearing there, Mikey.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the day,
I want to know that?
There might be one person who says no.
Yeah.
But you'd have to say, I can't help it.
Yeah. Okay. So all right. So how do we control what thoughts go up there? Would it be like a refreshing kind of burst, a shower of honesty that we suddenly got? We suddenly, people told it how it is with their thoughts uploaded to the cloud.
Wouldn't it be a lot like talking? I mean, there are lots of thoughts in my head, but I only say the ones that I want to. So it would be similar to that. That would just be the process of how you get things up there. So you select what goes up there. I wouldn't want everything to go up there, otherwise people would think, A, I'm either very weird or B, very boring. And
So you're saying thoughts are effectively uploaded to the cloud now? By talking?
No. I'm saying if they were to be uploaded, I'd want control over them in the same way that I want control over what is coming out of my mouth. I don't see the mechanism as being too different. I think once that technology was just there, in the same way that I can say a sentence, I can just think a thought and it goes up there, or I choose to think a thought and it not go up there.
But what about if you accidentally sort of that thought goes on,
like the same way we have a mouth-brain disconnect sometimes and say something silly, or...
Yeah, that happens on Twitter all the time.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
But I think Google's already pretty much got the entire population of the world's thoughts, because when we're searching for things, pretty much what we're thinking.
Really? So you think in a way it's already happened?
Yeah, they know a lot more than they have a lot more data than they seem to ever release to us about exactly what people are thinking at that moment in time based on searches and where those searches are happening in the world as well, I think.
So then
I think they already have.
Google knows more about us than we know about ourselves.
I think there's two ways to like stop these embarrassing thoughts going to the cloud. You could either have like anonymity, or like only certain people can see these thoughts, or B, you could just like make it like you know, like an Instagram account. An Instagram account, you could make it private.
Right.
Like you make your thoughts.
So you could control who got to think your thoughts in a way.
So it's only the metadata, which is just it's anonymous data.
Yeah. Okay. Or so you could have like a slightly like embarrassing thought, like, oh, why is he wearing that shirt? But it wouldn't necessarily be attached to a particular person. It would just be out there as a thought floating anonymously. So in a way, you could, I suppose it is a bit like Twitter, where you could say all these bad things, but you don't actually have to put your name or face to it.
That's why people normally say terrible things, because they know it's anonymous, and that's what's happening right now. It's great, just 'cause
it works well, doesn't it?
I've seen the internet for 20 years, and it's just hilarious how we've turned it into some areas of the internet just turned into carnage.
So you've seen the internet develop for 20 years, since 1996.
Well, I'm 31, so I've seen it whenever it. I started sending emails with Demon Internet back in what was it, early 90s.
Okay, so that's interesting. How's the internet? I mean, we've got some younger people here that may not be aware of what the internet was like back then. This could be a kind of history of the internet. What do you think the internet was like at the very beginning? Do you know? Have you got any ideas? Would you like to know?
Empty, maybe.
Empty, okay. What do you think the internet was like at the very beginning? I'll come back to you on that one.
Slow.
Slow? Okay.
Very slow.
How slow? When's the first time you logged on?
So I remember it exactly.
Yeah.
It was 1995.
Yeah.
I saw a computer and someone said, "Hey, come and look at this." And I said, "What's that?"
Yeah.
And a picture, an image was downloading line by line.
Yeah.
And it took about half the screen before I realised it's probably something we shouldn't all be looking at. And then I said, right, okay, back to work.
And were you amazed by that?
I was astonished, to be honest. And about a week later, I signed up for my first email account.
Yeah.
I still remember the provider. It was Cable iNet.
Right.
And I don't think they're around anymore.
Okay.
But it's come on leaps and bounds, isn't it?
Okay, so we're talking about internet nostalgia suddenly here. When was the first time you logged on to the internet?
I think it was like year 3 or so, just like playing computer games and stuff.
Yeah. 2003.
No, like year 3. Like
year 3.
Yeah.
When was that?
So it's like 17. So it's like 10 years ago, something.
10 years ago. 2006.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Let's go around the table and find out when the first times. When was the first time?
I was a very early adopter.
Yeah.
My first modem. You won't even know what a modem is. My first modem was genuinely made of wood. That's how old my internet experience
was. It powered by steam?
No. It was electric, but it was a device you put your physical telephone on. It had like 2 brass plates on this sort of wooden sort of triangle, and you put your telephone on it, and you could actually hear the thing vibrating, sending the ones and zeros.
What did the telephone
so slow.
look like?
It was just like a not rotary, like a button telephone, and then you plugged the modem into the computer. And it was slow. It was 300 bits a second, so 300 ones and zeros. So that was ridiculously slow. You were saying about sending pictures line by line. I think this was sending words like slowly line by line.
Well, when was that?
That would have been 94, I think, and it was bulletin board services. There wasn't the internet really. I think the internet was 95.
Okay, so we're talking about we're getting internet nostalgia going on here, which is probably means nothing to some of the younger people here.
What's happened to Prestel and CFAX and Oracle? All those on-demand television-based data services which you could only interact with in a very simple way. Because they predate the internet, don't they? That's how we used to book holidays when I was a student. Go on to CFAX, find what was going, and ring someone up.
They still do good deals now, apparently.
Yeah.
They still do good deals, but it's online now.
Okay. So I don't know if this has got much interest for some of the younger people here. Well, I don't know where we take this, but okay, all right, how about this? So that's 20 years of internet development from and all of that, to where we are now. They are confused, yeah. But what about in 20 years' time? Will we be literally uploading our thoughts?
Well, I think they're doing. We got 4G now, which is insanely fast.
Yeah.
They're doing in South Korea trials for 5G in 2017.
Yeah.
And I think it's exponentially. The internet is getting faster, more advanced, and there's Internet of Things. You can have your fridge connected to the internet, and use Twitter on your fridge.
So you can share your thoughts with your fridge.
Yeah. And soon everything's going to be on the internet, and it's going to be really fast as well.
Okay. All right. So everything will be connected. It won't just be people connected. Your fridge will be connected. It'll be really useful, I guess, for finding your keys, because you'll just be able to call your keys or tweet your keys. I don't know. Or would your keys tweet back? I don't know. I mean, what is all this information for? All these thoughts downloaded, this cloud going exponentially bigger. What's it all for? Any thoughts on this side, Anurag?
I reckon there's if you have loads of thoughts going around, you could start building artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Using that, and then.
So in a way, once your fridge is connected to it could be part of an artificial intelligent kind of network of fridges that just kind of gain consciousness somehow. Yeah.
Isn't it possible to build biological computers?
Right.
Your fridge could actually be your melon.
Right.
But you'd have to enhance it.
Okay, so the melon could be self-chilling in a way.
It would be.
Yeah.
And it would understand when you wanted to eat it.
Right.
And it might make another melon just before it falls apart or gets rotten.
Yeah.
Would it roll its way to you and find you, and then?
Only if it had mobility enhancements.
Okay.
But primarily, it would work on a sort of enzymatic exchange, just like a transistor does, but much faster.
Okay, so Alex says in the future fridges will be connected to the internet and have their own thoughts. Martin says we won't need fridges because our food will chill itself. So that's where we are right now. I don't know. Have you got any views on what the future's going to be like? Come and sit down on the table of the chat. This is Talkaoke. This is what we're talking about right now. Are you worried about a fridge having consciousness? Yeah.
It's not necessarily consciousness.
No, you're not worried about it. Excellent. Yeah.
There's kind of a difference between consciousness and the effect of the.
But what Anurag's saying over here is that eventually, if you've got all these things networking and the speed of information transfer and the processing power going up and up, eventually you will have artificial intelligence and your fridge will go. Isn't that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay.
Age of Ultron, the Marvel movie, which was.
Yeah, I haven't seen
Avengers.
that one. You have to
It's great.
Yeah. Has anyone else seen it?
It's like this. Tony Stark develops these Iron Men, which keep peace around the world. But then the Tesseract, which is from I don't know where it's from, but it has its own sentience and it manifests itself within an Iron Man suit.
Right.
And then it makes itself super powerful. And then it tries to kill everything on Earth.
Okay, what is it though?
The Tesseract.
Yeah. It's what?
It's an infinity gem.
Right. Okay. An infinity germ.
Yeah.
Okay. Is anyone here at Imperial working on infinity germs? Do come to the table.
Is it a computer virus? Is that what you mean?
No.
Is it a real virus? Is it a?
Well, no. It's just it's something that has been in the universe, the Marvel universe, since the dawn of time. It's a theoretical. It's not a real thing. It's made up. Yeah.
Okay, well, I know that this is fictitious. I am fully aware of this, but I'm just trying to work out what this. Do you know anything about this?
I have seen the film, and I wasn't satisfied with the explanation, which was that there was no explanation. It was just preceded anybody's knowledge, and therefore and didn't require any explanation.
Okay, so it's some kind of nanotechnology, sort of grey goo sort of thing, is it?
Well, the problem is, when there's no explanation, is there ever any understanding? Do we understand anything? Because we don't understand anything at all. We certainly don't understand what's important, so do we understand what's unimportant?
Okay. Do we understand any... Okay, let's just go from the start at the very beginning. Do we understand what's important? Do you think you understand what's important in life? Or do you think you don't understand it?
it's quite.
Yeah.
This is what we're all talking about right now. Exploration.
You think that, and you understand that is important, and we know it's important.
Yeah. It's just because we're inquisitive, aren't we? So.
And what sort? Is there things that are more important to explore than others, or is exploring everything important?
No, explore everything. Yeah.
Okay. So we do know that exploration is important.
I mean, that's a selfish personal goal. It may be utterly futile, and at the end we know it relates to nothing because we ultimately die.
Okay.
So we can create technology and permanence, but it may well not affect anything or anyone, or not even ourselves.
Okay.
I mean, we've seen that a lot of exploration does improve the lives of people. It's meant that people live longer because we've explored different areas of science and things. So I mean, I don't think selfish is the right word. There's certainly selfish elements to an individual act of exploration where you might want to be James Cameron down in his submersible going further than anyone's gone, or you want to be the first person on the moon, or whatever it might be. But the net result of all of the exploration seems to be to improve things. But interestingly, we can tie this back to the thing about intelligent fridges and humans uploading their consciousnesses, because if we want to explore, we might be better off exploring using some collective machine intelligence rather than ourselves, because it's very difficult to send ourselves to certain places.
Yeah.
But quite relatively easy to send robots and things.
Okay. So this spirit of exploration, we know that's important. We discover things. This is a very philosophical discussion, but come and join in. Are you worried about your fridge having consciousness? That's basically where we've come from. Then it's like, what's the point of it all anyway? Can we ever really know anything? And then we just got all like, that's where we are right now. Come and join in. You don't have to say anything.
I'm gonna go for
Okay, give us a final thought.
It's been good to talk to you guys. I think when we're exploring, it should always be positive. That's what my final thought
Okay.
is. So, it's positive for the future for all of us.
Okay, so it's all. And do you believe that exploration generally is positive?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, go and explore the festival, and then come back and tell us what you've explored.
Thanks, guys.
So what's your name?
Naomi.
Naomi, we've got Rowan, we've got Martin, we've got Alex, we've got Adam and Anurag, and my name's Mikey. We're just getting all philosophical here, which is fine, but it's up to you. The Talkaoke is a free-form talk show where you can just go in any direction you want to go, really. And I guess we're talking about what's the point of knowing all this stuff and having all this super fast interconnectivity, uploading your thoughts to the clouds. What's the point of it all? Is it actually helping us in any way?
Well, I think as the internet has evolved, so many people, like, say you're writing a paper for the Imperial University, you have to use the internet. It's essential to find random stuff up, and like an example of this is in North Korea. Like BBC recently put a YouTube video up of how this North Korean student at one of the only universities didn't have access to the internet, and therefore he can't write a paper because he only has the textbooks in the library to use.
Right.
And if he wants to write something groundbreaking and new, he can't do that with something which is already old.
Why?
It's like a really traditional way. Sure, you can do it, but it takes ages, and it's not a very efficient thing to do.
Okay, so instead he has to just go and look it up in books rather than actually just go, oh, has anybody else come up with a conscious fridge? Yeah, I'll just Google it.
When I went to university, we didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
And I managed to look things up, do stuff, publish papers, so that's not true, Alexi. You don't need the internet to do research.
It takes much longer.
Yeah.
It takes much longer. I mean, it's just generally
like the whole world's sped up since then, Martin. Yeah.
Because things have. The unfortunate thing is things have changed. Because when I was at university, it was kind of 50-50. I spent half my time in the library, half the time on the internet, and it's kind of since then I've seen it shift even further. And I don't think people use the library anymore.
Well, there are schools which have iPads for the children. Do we think that's a good idea? I don't know.
Okay.
I'm a teacher actually, and well, I don't know whether technology is making your average person more intelligent. We've got all the answers to everything right there in 30 seconds time.
What we're talking about though is not.
We're used to going to the library and looking stuff up. So are the kids today actually more intelligent? Because
Are the kids today more intelligent?
Well, it's not a question of are they more intelligent. Is because they're getting the information either way. Yeah. Instead of themselves having to think it up.
So it's more of a collective intelligence than an individual intelligence.
You can find answers, but I think the problem is creating solving new problems, which you won't be able to find the answer to on the internet. That's the problem.
Okay. So are kids better equipped to solve new problems?
Definitely not. I mean.
Okay. All right. Let's go around to this side of the table. Hang on a sec. What do you think? are the young people of today better equipped to solve problems or less well equipped because they're used to finding their answers so quickly?
Well, I think they're more equipped, so that because they've more things available to them to actually find the answer.
Okay, so they can just find the answer quicker, so they progress quicker. But what about this idea of identifying new problems that no one's thought of yet, or solving new problems?
Well,
that are not necessarily online yet.
I don't think just because we have the internet closely available to us, that will decrease our creativity in finding problems.
Okay.
I don't think that's the main issue.
Okay, why would that happen? Why would having this easy access to knowledge make people less creative and less able to solve problems? Come and join in. Come and sit down. Come and sit down. You don't have to say anything. Bring the kids along. Come on, get involved. Okay, so Naomi, why would having access to all these iPads make kids less creative or less good at solving problems? Adam says there's no reason why.
I don't know is the honest answer, but I know that we would look up stuff in books, and then if you can just find it with a click of a button, you're not really engaging your brain in finding the answer to something. You're just finding what's already there.
Okay, so you're not really thinking as much if you just think of something and immediately just ask Google. What do other people think?
Well, it's fascinating to hear, different people's points of view in that sense. But as a teacher, I see that the processes aren't happening of intellectual thought and analysis.
Yeah.
So my job, I teach A-levels, is to get students ready for university, and I have university lecturers saying to me, a lot of students don't have the analytical skills to be able to process things and to be able to develop ideas which are beyond what the scope of the internet offers.
What does that mean, analytical skills?
Well, so for example, in any given situation, be able to have a sort of dialectical thought about it and actually be able to reduce it to the sum of whatever the matter is, and whether it's a political argument, a scientific sort of formula or anything, it is actually disseminating it in a way that you actually understand the whole process behind it, rather than just saying, oh yes, I didn't think of that because the internet told me how to do that.
Right.
And so it's almost...
So they're no good at having an argument, basically, is what you're saying. They can't. They're rubbish at having an argument, these young people.
No, I think it's further than that. Actually, reducing things to the sum of its parts, being able to see each component part, which that evolves to a bigger picture. And so that's very important in developing processes.
Okay. Well, what do you say? What do you say? Your young people stand accused of not being able to reduce things to the sum, not being able to work things out. What do you say to this?
Much worse than that, actually. It's an enabling technology, and like all enabling technologies, it can be a force for good or it can be a force for evil. And what it's doing is effectively enabling people to be more mediocre faster. So they're basically
a fast track to mediocrity.
It's a fast track to complacency. So you can do your simple jobs in half the time and then go back to your video games.
Okay. Is it an enabler, but too much of an enabler, like a crutch, like a wheelchair almost, when you should be out running? What do you think?
So sometimes if I'm doing a problem on my homework or something, if I don't understand the problem, I might look up for some assistance or might go to the teacher instead. But it's I wouldn't say I use it to look up all the answers and use my teacher instead of my the internet. So I would say it's having a balance of the two. It's
I mean, do you agree with this conjecture a little bit that it is quite easy to find knowledge these days, so it can be a shortcut?
I think it can be a shortcut for some lazier students who don't want to try as hard and work harder.
Okay, Adam, have you got anything else to add?
If you get the answer faster, I don't see any reason why there's a problem.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, what about this? What about this question of reducing the thing? I'm not quite sure. What's your name? Sorry.
St. John.
What is it?
St. John.
St. John.
Yeah.
What St. John says about reducing. I'm not quite sure exactly what you mean. Reducing things to the actual essence or something like that.
I mean, so if you in a given situation, I mean, I was helping my son with his maths homework, and we had to find out what triangular numbers were, square numbers, etc. And so, as a starting point, sometimes we can, we're guilty of it as well. Sometimes we can be lazy and we'll look up online. But actually, for triangular numbers and, drawing the dots to work out what a triangular number looks like, etc. And so even at his age, trying to get him to understand at the core what it is, rather than just going online and looking and seeing, what is that example?
Yeah. So it's actually, in a way, maybe just like making a triangle, drawing a triangle and actually like laying it out and thinking about it when it could just be there. What do you think about this? Do you think it's better to like go the longer way round, or just look it up on the internet is quicker and then you move on faster?
Well, it depends what it is. If you're doing something like you're doing a big test, say an entrance exam for something, you should probably revise, not using the internet, just using normal skills.
Okay. So sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's not. Basically, okay. What do other people think about? What do you think about on this side?
I mean, if I'm honest, I think it's kind of a bit of a neutral tool, and it's how we use it. Because a lot of my friends are teachers. I do a lot of teaching myself, and I'm personally a fence sitter because I see a lot of people blaming technology and a lot of people using it as a tool to actually say, well, look, you take your first steps on the internet, but not everything is going to be there. To be honest, I'm under the impression that for science and maths it's actually a really, really positive tool because it's fairly objective stuff. You find a right or wrong answer. It's for more sort of arts, humanities things and sort of social sciences where it's less useful because you're only getting it's only ever going to be as good as a book. It can't be better.
Okay, so sort of subjects where you need an opinion.
Yeah,
it's actually
it's more,
you can't really Google an opinion, can you?
But what the internet has brought is a sort of crowd-based leveraging to social learning. So, for instance, competitive elements between people in things like solving maths problems has enabled children to compete with each other all over the world remotely, and that has helped them develop enormously. It doesn't actually teach them how to do the sums, but it wants to makes them want to be better than other people.
Okay, so that's
a different element. It doesn't give them the facts, but it changes their behaviour. So I think that's something that the technology does very well.
Okay, I'll come to you in a second.
I think while that does happen, it's also like it encourages laziness. And I think like nowadays in school, like if some people haven't done their homework, they use the excuse the internet was down or their printer wasn't working. If they actually if they did it if they didn't have to rely on the internet every time they did their homework to like help them or even give them
so you can use that as an excuse now.
Yeah, they just handwrite it like. And another thing, like the internet doesn't boost creativity.
You don't think it does?
No.
Do you think you will be able to Google an opinion in the future? Like, say, what do I think about this? And just ask Google, and Google will tell you what you think about it based on your other selections of other things. Okay, possibly in the future. Yep. Naomi?
I was just going to say, like, first of all, that's what the library at school is for, and that's why they provide computers for you. So it's not an excuse if your printer breaks down.
That's no excuse.
Just so you know. But the internet, it's just happened so quickly that we're still catching up with the morals of it, the ethics of it, responsible usage of it. It's like completely overtaken anything that we thought. So what I would like is kind of internet skills being taught. So that in my subject, which is French and Spanish, the kids use the internet to look up YouTube videos of stuff happening in France and Spain and increasing their cultural awareness rather than Google translating the homework and thinking I won't notice when they use university level grammar and they're in year 7.
Right. Okay. So we see both sides.
What's appropriate, how to use it, what we expect.
So in a way,
we don't know that.
We're
still working that out.
So we were feeling our way through this, and it's a totally new area. So we don't really know how best to use it. But that's a quite good example. Like you could use YouTube to work out what the news is in France or Spain, or any country you choose. But you could also use it to just Google Translate. Will you actually be out of a job when Google Translate gets that good that we won't need teachers anymore? Can you see that happening?
Well, probably in the future. Well, very far off. I can imagine. Well, everybody keeps on talking about how robots are probably taking over our jobs, our lives, and many of the things we do. So I think. Have you watched WALL-E? So in WALL-E, the robots do everything. Everything is screen. And the humans are really fat and they just walk around in wheelchairs. And so.
Do you think we're going to go in that direction?
That's a really nice future.
Okay. All right. Okay. Will Naomi be out of a job when you can just I could just say this and it will be instantly translated into all languages that people want to hear through their head? Give us a final thought in English. Will teachers be out of a job? When you say yes?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I reckon so. Yeah.
Okay. Is teaching a buggy whip industry?
Well, that's dependent on like artificial intelligence or creating something which will replicate the teaching ability of the teacher, but that's going to be very far down.
Very far down the line, so we've still got a bit of time to go. There's still a little bit of time left in the industry before it all collapses, just like we were talking yesterday about the music industry collapsing, so maybe teaching's going the same way.
I think like with Google Translate it's going to be impossible for a perfect translator because for example, when you're saying and you want to translate to French, do you have, I don't know, a napkin? It doesn't know whether to use tu or vu because they don't know if you're talking about the plural or not. And there's some things like you can only tell if there's a human translator there consciously understanding and making a judgment based on a situation. And you can't do that if you're just sitting at home in your room typing it into Google Translate. They don't know if you're talking to one person or five. And I don't think you'll ever be able to do that without manually entering it.
Okay.
I disagree. I think it's just a case of time because you're assuming here that the context is you sitting at home on your computer. But realistically, this is your computer now and will be in the future. You're not going to have a computer at home. And this will constantly be listening and it will feed into your ear. Oh, right, you want to be saying this now. Or even easier, it won't even do that. It will just translate what you're saying into the other person's phone. So you're kind of communicating. I don't know if you're familiar with Star Trek, like the Universal Translator. I envisage something a bit more like that. There'll be a bit of a delay.
It's sort of Babelfish kind of
thing.
Something
like that. I mean, I don't see that as being unrealistic. It's
teaching that will be gone. It's more the question of the problem of communicating between different languages that will be gone.
Well, maybe it's because languages are a very inefficient way of communicating.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier on. We're uploading our thoughts to the cloud.
But to be fair, we probably need a new one.
Yeah.
And it should probably be technology driven.
Yeah.
So that A, we don't need to translate things, and B, we can all understand what we're thinking without actually talking.
Okay. Well, I'll be out of a job as well then, won't I?
Well, to be honest, we're all getting desocialised and artificialised, so that's probably the future. In 100 years' time, we might not even be able to talk if we rapidly genetically modify.
Oh, hang on.
I was just going to say, do you think language is just a load of words? Do you think that language is just a load of words? Is that all it is to you? Because to me, it's a whole lot more than that.
Okay, well, tell us what else it is apart from just a collection of words, not random, but very well ordered. But
so there's a country, and it's somewhere like Iceland or somewhere where they've got tons of words for snow, right?
Yeah.
That's not something you can translate. It's a culture, it's a literature,
it's a whole way of life.
It's a whole way of life. It's a whole attitude to life. It's a philosophy. It's a type of music. It's so much more than just a load of words. And even those loads of words, we can't translate half as good as we would like to with Google Translate for the very good reason that you said, and many more.
Okay.
No, I agree. There's a nuance to the human experience that needs to be conveyed in language and literature, which you won't necessarily get from a Google translator as well. And also the analogy in the music industry, for example, they completely missed the boat on Napster and everything else. However, what that's meant is that more musicians actually go out and do live gigs. They go out and busk. And in fact, the growth of festivals in the last 20 years has been phenomenal. So people want that human experience. And when they initially try to do these sort of live link-ups, of terms of let's go and a band playing somewhere in Australia and let's link up all with DJs, etc., it just didn't work because people wanted to be in the crowd, experience the music with other people. So I think the human element will inevitably always be there.
Okay.
Well, I don't think language is meant to be efficient. It's meant to just make you take your time with what you're saying, because say for example like a computer keyboard, it's not in the most efficient manner, and there are so many more like if you had Dvorak on the middle, it's been scientifically proven, but it's the fact that language makes you think before you speak. And I think if you don't do that, if you just had a sequence of numbers which everyone used, it wouldn't be the same way. You would just spurt things out, and you wouldn't have any passion with it. I mean, like French and Spanish, they make you speak differently.
Right.
So it's just completely different.
Because there's a difference between communication and emotion. So a language is a way of understanding what someone wants to say, but a lot of what your communication is non-verbal communication.
Right.
So we analyse about 100 things about someone per second, and that's completely different to what someone's actually saying, because of course they could be saying something that's not true, and they know it. And I think actually leveraging non-verbal communication is probably the next great language.
Is that the way that maybe
So we
Google
need to
Translate will go next? It will be translating body language as well?
It's probably already doing it. When you're looking at your iPhone, it's probably analysing your emotions.
Scary stuff. Are you okay? Yeah.
Great. No, it's great. Thanks very
Give us a final thought before you go.
Well, no, I just I reiterate what I said before. I think the human experience is essential, and that's going to underpin technology completely.
Okay, yeah, as shown by all the growth of festivals and face-to-face stuff.
What you're doing here.
Oh yeah, what we're doing here. That's a good point.
I think technology will eventually take over most human jobs.
And what does that mean? What are we going to do then?
Be Wall-E.
Be boring. Oh no. Okay, so technology's taken over, but it's not going to lead to like having fun. It's going to lead to boredom. Final thought?
Do your homework.
Do your homework. Okay, so where do we want to go with this? Maybe we need to sort of like refresh and reload and change the subject. What do you want to talk about? Anything that's come out of that maybe you want to move on to?
No, really, I just I don't know why, but I suddenly want to talk about the new Captain America Civil War movie. Have you seen that?
I'm probably seeing it tomorrow, actually.
Okay, have you seen it already?
Yeah, I saw it on the day it came out. I just thought.
Don't tell us
it's
what
kind
happens.
of like okay, fine. No spoilers, but in Hollywood, I think, and in the film industry in generally, they're really good at putting subliminal messages in like what is perceived as a comedy. Or for example, the new Batman vs Superman movie. There's a very deep political messages embedded within this.
What are the political messages?
It's like should we govern super powerful nations, stuff about arms, and I think the beauty of film and stuff is you can interpret it how you want.
Right.
And I don't know, I just thought it'd be a good thing.
Okay, so are there political messages in the Batman vs Superman film? What are they? Is it down to us to decide, or are we being subtly?
I mean, I kind of agree. Actually, this is something I've noticed from seeing all this new crop of like comic book films and things. But I don't know if they're positive political messages. I'm seeing a lot of borderline fascism in a huge amount.
What do you mean by that?
We're just like I think it was one of the Batman films where he basically granted himself the power to spy on every citizen, so sacrificing their privacy for the sake of some perceived good, which actually wasn't even that sort of concrete. And there's just things like that in all of the different superhero films. They're all sort of like these elite, powerful groups that grant themselves special privileges, and they're above the law, they're above everything, and it's all fine and it's okay, and people cheer them on, and
so the message in a way is kind of that certain sacrifices to civil liberties are acceptable for the state for the sake of a stable, safe. Nation.
Granting powers to the security services, the armed forces and things like that they shouldn't ordinarily have.
We need those powerful forces in order to keep us safe, is basically the message.
Yeah, fear-mongering.
Okay, interesting. All right. Is there a message in these Batman and Superman films? That's what we're talking about at the moment. Have you seen any? Come and sit down, come and talk about it. Fail to more interested in the accident that happened over there. Yeah.
I think conspiracy theory time, but I think Hollywood does promote Western ideologies like capitalism and stuff like that.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean?
Well, it is true. I mean, to be honest, like in pretty much every Hollywood blockbuster, every successful Hollywood movie, like in recent times, even like 50 years ago, it's all been it's been based upon Western ideas, Western.
Right.
Like it's.
Can you give us an example?
Yeah, it's because it appeals to us because it's what we're used to seeing.
Okay.
So what do Hollywood do? They give us what we want to see.
So you think it's a kind of mirror of what we want, basically?
That's the only way life. That's a perfect way to get things sold. You mirror people's behaviour and you match their expectations. Right. And they're just a money-making machine.
Okay. All right. Okay. So hang on. I'm going to spread this out. Get a few more punters in on this. Is Hollywood just reflecting our own desires, or is it trying to tell us? I mean, you're sort of suggesting, Alex, that it's kind of telling us, or no, it was you more, wasn't it, that that we need to have faith in the forces, in powerful forces.
Kind of. I think it's a bit more amorphous than that. And yeah, you're right. It's an intrinsic part of capitalism. I think is to sustain itself. So anything that is a product of capitalism will promote capitalism. I think that's innate. But so films, yeah, they are created by supply and demand. They show us what we want to show, but at the same time they support their own ends. And you generally don't find a film that says "Don't watch this." You know, what are they? Is it balloons or?
It could be a balloon. Could be balloons popping out.
Anyways, yeah, just that.
So is it just what I'm trying to get at? Is this just a reflection of us and our desires, or is it actually? Is there something more going on? Something perhaps a bit more sinister?
It's fulfilling the emotional and psychological unmet needs of the population. So everyone loves watching Batman because they wish they could be like that. Right. Everyone wants to see the goodies win because that's what helps people feel safe.
Right, okay.
People like to see new technology because it makes them feel like the world's getting better. What they don't want to see is the news day after day.
Right, okay.
They feel uncomfortable with reality. They'd rather...
Good. Do you like watching the news day after day?
Yeah, I think it's useful. I thoroughly disagree with you because you're saying people watch movies because they want to be like the protagonist, they want to live that life. And so I ask you, why the movie Jackass was so popular in cinemas, where they basically did stupid stunts, broke multiple bones, and they grossed so much money, and it's such a cult favourite, like stuff like that.
That's the other unmet human need, which is humour. Pathos and freedom. The freedom to laugh, the freedom to cry.
The freedom to actually break the rules as well, to a certain extent.
We're managed.
Okay, so I just want to get some more people around the table here, because this is an important subject.
If they've got to go, should we take a 5-minute? We
can take a break, maybe you want to jump in the middle, because I've got a lot of things in the middle here. You know, I've got to absorb everybody else's opinions. I actually have got my own opinions that I would like to...
Why don't you summarise?
Well, I'm not going to... it's not my job in the middle, but when Rowan goes in the middle, and I go on the outside, then I will definitely just splurge it all out.
So you guys at Imperial then?
No, I mean, coincidentally, I did go to Imperial, but no, we're here as the people speak, and this is a thing that we take to different places.
So you can find us at the Science Museum on the 26th of May in our in Poplar, in our studio in Poplar on the that's the 26th.
I don't know.
On the 25th, I don't know why I'm giving you a microphone. You don't know the dates. We're going to go to. This is going to go online. Yep. Also, you'll be able to download it. Hello, Rick. Rick, do you want to say some things about this?
That was just interesting about the movie. I've noticed a lot with American movies that they're very anti the corporate. These companies like this one man saving the day, and this like big organisation.
The corporations are always a bit sinister.
Yeah, exactly. But yet the whole American system is built around corporations and stuff. So they've got like all these films that are
they're kind of suspicious of themselves in a way.
But they're like, and there are loads of people voting for Donald Trump, who in himself is like a massive corporate evil entity in a way, and yet people are voting for him, but these films are like anti-Donald Trump. So I'm really confused. I don't understand how it works.
Okay, so why is it? Okay, so there's a bit of a contradiction going on with Hollywood, that the corporations are always kind of a little bit sinister and evil, yet America seems to be a nation dominated by corporations. So it's not quite a reflection of the culture itself. It's a reflection. Well, you said it was more a reflection of our desires.
Because the capitalist system is financially motivated, so things that lead to financial reward are positively viewed. So that'll be encouraged because that's useful to the society.
What Rick's saying is the opposite, that corporations in Hollywood films are normally bad. They're normally evil. They're normally sinister.
Yeah, but they're profitable, which is the system in which they work.
I see, it reflects the paradox in American society, though, doesn't it? That they are vocally anti-corporate in some ways. They don't like power, they don't like government power, but on the other hand, they acknowledge the kind of eroding of civil liberties for enhanced security, and they also exist under the thumb of corporations. I think that thing is actually like a shallow facade there to kind of deflect sort of like what they consider to be the sort of softy left-wing types. I don't think that the anti-corporate messages are earnest in American films.
Okay.
No, it's funny. I wonder if people think like there's someone like Bruce Willis out there that'll save the day. So if there's this evil corporate company, don't worry, there is a Bruce Willis type in some organisation somewhere that's going to come in and destroy him anyway. So don't worry about it.
Okay, so there's always that's maybe the message. There's always somebody good in the corporation. All right, fine. Let's get some final thoughts for this session.
Okay, well, I just firstly want to talk about why Donald Trump is so popular in America.
Okay.
Not necessarily correct. In fact, definitely not correct.
He's not popular.
No. I mean, he is very popular.
Yeah.
Within a specific, well, not even a specific demographics. Like these people who are so used to these fact-based speeches with no real passion, people who don't stand by their beliefs, which is inherently what politics is about. And then here comes Donald Trump, who is very strong-minded, and it's not particularly his policies they like, it's the way he presents them. It's the same way with Jeremy Corbyn, in the way he didn't deviate from his ideas even when he came under pressure from quite a lot of the Labour. So in a way it comes
back to what we were talking on earlier on about language, that language isn't just like uploading some facts and downloading them, but there's all these other things going on, like the way that it's communicated. And you're saying that Donald Trump communicates in a way that makes sense to people.
It's more appealing, and if like you're seen as passionate, if people see this man spending so much money becoming a political candidate, and he's speaking so passionately, they even subconsciously think he knows what he's talking about, or at least they think he might be right. He might have some grain of truth embedded in.
Yeah. So it's about the manner of delivering. And you're saying that Jeremy Corbyn's got a similar manner of delivery. Is that what you're saying to Donald Trump?
It's similar but different in the way that it hasn't been seen for a long time in British politics. I mean, you see David Cameron. He delivers these very stark, fact-based, boring, monotonic speeches. And you have Jeremy Corbyn, who always stays by his beliefs, and it's completely different, a shock to British society. And I think that's why he was so popular. But I think that's going to wear off soon, as we've been hearing in the news. Like, not everyone in the Labour Party likes him, and his effect, like his.
Hang on a sec, Alex, because we've got some new faces at the table. So basically, we're talking about we're talking about Hollywood films. Are there hidden messages in Hollywood films, or are they just quite? Like Batman, is Batman all about just like, in a way, trusting those more powerful than us to look after us, and just giving up certain freedoms because we need safety and security? That's what certain people around the table have been saying. Then we moved on to Donald Trump. Why is Donald Trump so popular? Alex says it's because he's got a message that seems to come more passionately from the heart, and it's not just about the information that... Please do, It's not just about the information that he's saying, but it's the way he says it. It seems to be more passionate. And then you're also saying that Jeremy Corbyn, you feel, has got a similar thing, that he seems to be more true and more real, and that people can connect to that. That's where we are right now. So come and have a seat around the table of chat. You can sit down. So my name's Mikey. We've got Rowan. We've got Martin. What's your name?
I'm Miroslav. Just call me Miro. It's Martin.
Okay, Miro and
Alex.
Alex, and what's your name?
Kathy.
And Olivia. Lara.
Vincent.
Okay, welcome. So have you got any views on this? Do you know Donald Trump? Any reasons why he's popular?
On Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Well, the problem is that people are getting disappointed from the current politics, but I think that the reason is that some people are getting a bit too much disappointed from a left liberal movements coming in. I'll be honest in that.
You think they are disappointed with the?
They just don't feel it right somehow. They don't agree, and they are also, of course, a bit disappointed of the establishment.
Okay.
So they are not finding the eligible representatives for them in the mainstream or in centralist.
Okay. So Donald Trump, do you know Donald Trump?
Yeah.
What do you think of Donald Trump?
I don't know.
Have you got no opinion at all? Donald Trump? Come a bit closer because I can't reach you from over there. Do you don't have any opinion? Have you got an opinion on Donald Trump?
It's the hairdo.
Yeah.
The hairdo does it.
Okay. What is up with his hairdo?
No. Joking aside, I agree with this young man. I think he's an absolutely brilliant orator, and the message can be ignored, but the way it's delivered is remarkable, and
so
it's quite dangerous, I think.
So it's
because he will be able to sway people with pretty much whatever, because he's the way he delivers it is
people
remarkable.
just believe it. Yeah. Do you, okay. Hang on. Yeah.
I think part of the problem also is the political system in America and the force and the power that they have. If they have a leader like Donald Trump, then potentially with that great power and the lack of responsibility comes great instability.
Right.
So it's not necessarily him per se, it's the system in which he's working and the resources that they have and their geopolitical position.
Okay.
Because there are plenty of dictators all around the world.
What do you mean geopolitical position?
The fact that they're very powerful, the fact that they have a lot of trade arrangements, and the fact they have the biggest military in the world.
Okay, so you think maybe it's a system that it could be unstable, basically. A lot of power in the hands of somebody that's possibly not very responsible, according to Martin.
I think it's interesting that somebody like Obama, who is universally acknowledged to be a brilliant statesman and a very reasonable character, has achieved very little of what he wanted to achieve, because he's just not nuts enough. And I think what people are maybe looking at is the alternative, which is a complete nutcase who will do anything to get what he wants. And maybe they're thinking, well, maybe that's the way to achieve change.
Okay.
Since somebody as brilliant as Obama hasn't managed to do it.
He's in a way too kind of statesman-like and playing by the rules. He's too normal. So we're talking about the Donald Trump phenomenon. Why is he so popular?
Because the current political system has failed.
Okay. What?
Well, look at the state of ours.
Yeah.
Well, no, the Tories, Labour, everything. With the push of technology, jobs are going to become sparse, or there's going to be less jobs.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier.
So it's already happening. Middle America, isn't it? 5 million jobs since Obama came in on something that lost to it.
Earlier on, we were saying that teachers like Naomi over there are going to be out of a job because she's a language teacher. Google Translate's going to do that.
No, but they reckon there's already this device you can put in your ear that in a few years is going to be able to real-time translate.
Exactly.
Multiple languages.
Exactly. So everyone's going to be out of a job. So that's. But how does that connect to our political system? Are you worried about having a job in the future?
Maybe.
You may be. Are you worried about having a job in the future?
But can you work for yourself?
You can work for yourself. Is that how it would work? What job would you do for yourself? Okay, interesting. Oh, so maybe that's the future of jobs. Come and join in on this. What is your future job?
Sorry, Mr. over there was trying to say something.
Okay, yeah. Sorry.
We'll carry on with this, but I just wanted a minor defence of Obama. The reason he didn't get much done was not because he couldn't, it's because his hands were tied, because they had a Republican Congress. And it's, but the problem is America has just shifted so far to the right in recent years, even under a Democratic leadership.
Is it because the political system has failed us? What's your name?
Phil.
Phil was saying that...
It's such a pointlessly binary system, but it's not reflective of reality.
Okay. Yeah.
To override it.
Okay, so the nutcase potentially that won't play by the rules is what you need to override the political system. Miro, hang on a sec.
I personally would argue with that. I do think that political system in America is alright. They've got all the system of checks and balances. If the presidents want to go to war, well, he can, but Congress doesn't approve the money for that, and he has to go back with shame. So I don't think that this is the problem.
So you think the political system actually works in America?
Political system works. It's basically rather the wrong people who are coming. This movement, now we observe these movements not only in America, in my country, in Slovakia, in all the Central Europe, in France, Le Pen, all these anti-establishment flows are coming. All the people people tried everything and they think that the hope is coming from anti-establishment or anti-system. But the truth is that these people usually don't have both intellectual or any moral or any capacity to do anything.
Okay, so they've not got the intellectual capacity. I'm going to come to you in a second, Phil, but I just want to go to Alex. Is the political system working? Miro says it is, and without it, we're going to be in trouble. I'm going to come to you in a second, Phil. But
I think the main problem is the fact that in America and lots of countries you don't particularly vote for the party. The main thing you think about when you're voting is the actual person. You don't see, the first thing you see on ballot paper in America is the candidate. So it won't be Republican Party, it'll be Donald Trump.
Do you think it's a flawed system?
Well, yeah, because you're not voting for a particular party, a group of people to run a country. You'll be voting for one person to have an executive decision on everything. Well, just generally teamwork has always been proven. Teamwork always accomplishes more than
okay, so teamwork is better. It should be a consensus between people, not just one person deciding. I'm going to come to you in a second because Phil, you wanted to come back.
I forgot where I was.
We were talking about, because Miro was saying the system works, you were saying the system doesn't work.
It doesn't work. The political system's as fair as the legal system. I think if you're well off, then it's biased massively towards you. You know, it looks after the elites, definitely. And the fact of the matter is, with the march of technology, robotics, everything else, there's going to be jobs market's going to be decimated. And the thing, it's like the Brexit argument, isn't it? For me, I don't understand why Labour supports staying in the EU, because Labour's supposed to look after the rights of the British worker. And the thing that the argument goes that if you get lots of cheap labour in, that affects the rights of the British worker, doesn't it? They're not getting wage inflation that they traditionally would have got, not able to buy houses, etc. So that dream for that working class is gone.
Okay.
You know, they're just going to be zero contracts.
So you think that leaving
contracts, bang. I think Labour is misplaced. Corbyn's probably knows, so he's keeping quiet about it, isn't he?
Okay. So you think that
I don't think they're standing up for the traditional British worker. Now, whether it's right or wrong, is a different argument. But that's their job.
Okay. Now, I feel like we're at a crossroads here. Do we want to talk about? There's so many subjects here on the table. Do we want to talk about this lack of jobs and how to support that? Do we want to talk about the EU, whether it should be inside the EU or not? Do we want to talk about this personality? It's kind of up to you. This is a free-form talk show. It's up to you to decide. Where do you want to take this conversation? What do you actually want to talk about?
We want to innovate a new political system.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So democracy is fundamentally flawed because it's effectively a dictatorship of the masses. Okay. So we need to use technology to enable everyone's ideas.
Okay, so a kind of technologically driven political system, how would that work? How do we actually make decisions in a better way?
We have to have absolute inclusion. So currently democracy is based on a turnout. The turnout is very variable depending on the emotion of the campaign. So effectively if someone can motivate the people to vote and they happen to vote for him, then he'll get in.
Okay.
Or she.
Okay, so
because the system has failed, isn't it? But the primary reason that it's failed is because people don't care about it, and you see that by the percentage turnout and elections and what have you. And so to engage with the people, you have to excite them, and the way to do that is to educate them, isn't it? I freely admit I have no idea how.
Is it about
who my MEP is? Really, if you ask me about councils and governments, it's not something I did. So I just don't understand. Which is totally wrong. And the same goes for finance as well, doesn't it? People don't understand about their pension.
All right. Is it about understanding? How do we reinvent the political system so it works for everyone, that everyone's included? Do you feel included in the political system? No. Would you like to be included?
Well, who would you have voted for in the mayor?
Do you feel included in the political system?
I'm mostly a non-voter in this country.
Yeah. But does that make you feel
well, yeah, I feel reasonably well informed. I haven't got a major issue with
are you bothered about that? About not voting?
A little bit, I would have to. A little bit, I could do something about it. I.e., get a British passport, which I could. Probably get, considering I've been here for such a long time. I can vote, for European elections.
Yeah.
I can vote for local elections.
Okay, so you get a bit of voting going on.
Yes, exactly. I feel reasonably.
Okay, so I don't know. I don't feel we've had any ideas yet about how to change the system apart from education. Hang on, I'm going to come to these two in a second. Yeah.
Regarding how the system works, I think that what you've said, that democracy is flawed. I've got a slight issue with that, because we can have like straight democracy where we would basically be having referendums about everything, or we can have representative democracy where we basically elect some people about whom we are sure that they will represent us properly, that they should be the better of us somehow, to basically be able to capable to intellectually handle it, to morally handle it, to handle the responsibility for leading the country. Now, the problem is that, and these are those movements in Europe that people are voting, either voting people that are saying that what they want to hear, so populists, or basically the same people maybe as they are in some countries. And this brings us to the point that, as I think Phil said, that people are voting wrong people, and that brings to us the question of the leaders. Where are those leaders? Where are the future Adenauers, Reagans, Thatcher, all these people? We need them. We don't need.
Okay, so you think the way to improve the political system is to have better leaders, such as Adenauer, Reagan, and Thatcher.
Better HR in general.
Okay, better leaders, better HR in the system. Okay, how do we improve the system?
Yeah, the thing is, there are lots of great leaders. It's the thing of they don't always appeal to the masses, which is the reason why Donald Trump appeals to lots of people, and like your local independent MP, who for all we know, he might be like a great person, a great speaker.
Can you think of anyone that you think's a great leader?
Well, they're not off the no. Well, that's the point. Because we're not educated enough. We don't get taught at school about these things. You have to select it for a GCSE politics to learn. If you really want to learn about politics, you have to actually select it and do it as part of your education.
A true leader probably doesn't advertise himself. He is elected through the permission of others. So it's very hard to surface as a true dispassionate leader, someone who doesn't have vested interests.
In industry and arts and stuff like that.
Can you think of anyone you think's a good leader?
Not off the top of my head, no. But then, what is a good leader? What is somebody who does what? What a good leader for somebody who's a socialist will be a bad leader for somebody who's a, Oh, you're right.
Sorry. Okay. So, I mean, what about, we're talking about robots here. What about a robot? Would a robot make a good leader? Come back and tell us.
I'll make it Prime Minister.
I was going to say, I think one of the central problems I find is that the problem is having leaders. I think we've evolved to a point socially where a top-down hierarchy isn't good enough anymore. It's such a small world way of looking at an organisation of a big group of people. It works up. There's no science behind this, I guess, but it works up to like maybe 1 million or something like that. But when we're talking in a world of billions that's so connected that really there is no one government, etc., you can't organise that with a hierarchy. It's too vast.
So in a way, it's similar to what Alex was saying, that teamwork might be better.
Sort of like some kind of emergent thing. I mean, personally, I feel we should look to the internet, which isn't an overarching governed thing. It's kind of like a self-emergent thing. And I know that sounds a little bit like historic anarchy, but it's not. It's something a little bit more organised.
Some kind of emergent consensus-based politics.
Yeah, and I don't know what it would manifest. It's
whatever.
That's one of the problems, but then that's also something to overcome. But also, that's not a negative thing. That was genuinely a funny thing. It's such an irrelevant issue that I'm glad it went there. It's a kind of a shame they didn't take it.
The point being,
it's just populist.
Is the fundamental problem with democracy is the power lies in the hand of the man in the street who hasn't got a bloody clue what that power is, and how to exercise it.
What's wrong with Beatty McBakeface?
Well, in itself, nothing, because the guy did it, but it's representative of what happens when you get, it's like the AI thing that was at Microsoft did, and then all of it, I can't remember, it's some bot, didn't they? And then all of a sudden, it becomes like, how can we mess it up? And that's the attitude. So that in itself is great. I'm all for that. But on serious matters, you run the risk of I tell you what, and here is the prime example, right? How about the election of Corbyn as a Labour leader? So all the new people joined the Labour Party, didn't they? How many of those joined to do the wrong thing for the Labour Party? Because it was £3 to join, wasn't it?
Okay.
I'm not saying Corbyn is the wrong person or anything else, but you give the power to the electorate, and then all of a sudden a load of people who have no interest in Labour can join and completely do the opposite of what is the right thing.
Okay, come and have a seat on the table of chat. We're talking about, do we need a new form of politics? Most people around the table say yes. Rowan is suggesting it could be some kind of emergent internet-based decision-making that has no explicit leader. Miro says we don't need a new form of politics, we just need better leaders. And Alex, what are you going to say?
Okay, well, I think having a representative democracy for the past, I don't know how long, hasn't gone too well for Britain, especially in recent times. You've had economic setback after economic setback. Standard of life around the world has generally gone down, and happiness has also gone down. And I think if you're putting more, if you're allowing people over the internet to just vote on extremely serious things. I mean, see what they did with Boaty McBoatface. If you're behind a screen, and like a lot of immature people will do, they'll just, think it's funny to vote for EU to leave, for Britain to leave the EU, because they think it won't directly affect them. And if you have a lot of people, mob mentality, thinking like that, it'll eventually go through.
You're right and they're wrong.
Okay, hang on a sec. Hang on a sec. We got. Hang on, Phil. Hang on a sec. Let's just get our heads around this. So this is Talkaoke. At the moment, we're talking about. We've sort of moved on a little bit. We're talking about what started off with why is Donald Trump so popular, and then it was like, oh, we actually need a new system of politics which kind of actually makes better decisions because we're not necessarily making the right decisions here. And then different people have suggested different stuff, like should it be a kind of emergent internet-based decision-making where decisions somehow emerge from a kind of consensus of what's going on? Should it be better leaders? As Miro says, we need better leaders, and that's what's going on. We don't have the right leaders. Can you trust people on the internet to make the right decisions? Alex says no, because those people don't care about things like leaving Europe. They're just going to say, let's leave Europe just for the sake of it.
Yeah, but there's a decision there that leaving Europe, you don't care.
Okay. Yeah. So that's where we are right now. Let's just get some names, and then if you want to say anything, just get involved in this. So we've got Phil. Hello. And what's your name?
Fred.
Adam.
Sabrina. Georgina.
Anurag.
Alex.
I'm Miro.
I'm Ray. Martin.
Rowan.
And I'm Mikey. So if you got anything to say, just chip in. Yep, Miro.
So maybe I would react to three things that have been mentioned by this young gentleman and by Phil and Rowan. You mentioned that basically the representative democracy hasn't been working that well because Britain hasn't been that well. To me, this is not completely correct, because if you consider the Europe, where since there have been representative democracies in past 70 years, in the Europe there has never been an occasion where there would not be a war for 70 years. In the world, there is the lowest amount of wars that there have ever been. Even
so you think it's gone quite well?
So it's going better. We don't have anything better, as Winston Churchill said. And reacting to what Phil and Rowan say, back to the question of the leaders, there was mentioned that where are those leaders that we don't know of them and that they are not able to communicate. But in my definition of leader, he should be able to bring interesting thoughts, he should be able to unify people, to make them able to stand for them, and he should be able to communicate them effectively. And I think that Rowan mentioned that it was Phil. He mentioned that basically some people will not agree with someone who is, even though he's a leader, but he's having opposite opinion. But to me, even if someone is having opposite opinion, but he's worth listening, he's bringing interesting thoughts.
So it's about bringing those people in.
It's really interesting and worth listening to him. For example, I would not have to agree with Gerhard Schröder in Germany as a socialist, but still I would listen to him because they're interesting thoughts.
So actually part of this political process is listening to people you don't agree with and maybe taking on board some of the things they say, going, oh, you've got a good point there with some of your socialist things, but other things I don't agree with. That's part of being a good leader. Okay, give us a final thought before you go.
Final thought. Oh my God, so many, or so few. You see, I find it interesting that when you're arguing, you shouldn't dumb down the opposition. I think that's a very good point. To say that people aren't taking Brexit seriously because they want out. Those kind of comments. I think there's a lot of disillusionment, certainly from older people like me, who've grown up where working class people can get jobs easily, can get houses, can get healthcare, etc. And they see a real risk to that. And it's very easy to look back with rose-tinted glasses. But if I look forward, I can see a lot of unrest in Europe, you know, Greece is going to potentially default again. You know, there's the people in Greece. I mean, I don't know how they're living at the moment, how they're surviving. You know, there's a lot of other examples like that where I think Donald Trump has been thrown up because of people basically not being serviced. They've been, you know, no jobs, no money, and I think that's potentially going to happen in Europe, and they're just going to get more extreme politics coming into mainstream politics.
All right, let me just sum that up before I bring that into you. Thank you, Phil. So basically what we're saying is, and it comes back to what Miro is saying as well, that just because someone's got a different point of view, they have thought, they may not just be flippant about that, they may not just be idiots, they might have spent a lot of time thinking about that. And they might be idiots as well, but also people who agree with you might be idiots too. So how do we encompass all these different views? Can we redesign politics? Is that what it is about, or does it work pretty well? As Miro says, it's been working quite well so far in terms of very few wars in Europe, etc., etc. Any views from over here? Do you think politics needs to be redesigned?
No, I don't think it should. What do you mean about redesign?
Well, I mean, Rowan over here wants to have an emergent internet-based kind of, where decisions are made collectively and as a kind of team. We don't necessarily need leaders. It will just, you know, and a sort of like consensus will just form through just that kind of cloud of opinions making sense somehow.
Making sense somehow, you don't know if it's going to work.
Well, I don't. It's not my idea. Rowan, maybe you have to explain it a bit more how it's going to actually work.
So
you make it up. Okay.
But I mean, the general gist is that when you give people power to actually enact some decisions, they'll actually take it seriously. The Boaty McBoatface thing that was brought up earlier is quite fun, but it had no real consequence. People didn't really take it seriously. Whereas I think when it comes to something like, say, I don't know, just say some right-wing fascist brings up the idea of the death penalty again, I think people would actually get on board with that because it's such an impassioned issue and actually shoot it down to the point where it would just never arise again.
Or, for example, the question of Brexit, which has been on the table a few times.
The problem is it's a system that would require time to become normal. I think it would get abused very in its early days, and so I don't think it would just be like a quick changeover from democracy to this. I think it would be a slow change, which, you know, maybe might take place in more referendums over time, but that's not perfect.
Gradually give more power to the people as they learn to use it and deal with it. Ray, have you got anything to say? You've been listening?
I've been very interested in what everyone's saying, and I think, you know, this idea of listening to each other and giving some credence to what they say, you know, you never, especially in a brainstorming situation, you would never dismiss anything that anybody says. You know, everyone has a point of view, and a lot of people have very useful things to say. One of the things that concerns me about politics is this, that we have good politicians, we have good leaders and so on, but we don't have visionary leaders. You know, we need a vision for our country. Take Bill Gates, for example. Bill Gates has a vision for Microsoft, going back to 1975. Now, in 1975, I'm old enough to know that in 1975, nobody had heard of Microsoft. Today, everybody knows about it.
Yeah.
And that's because of the vision of one man, that he was going to place his software on every computer, in every home, and in every office. With politics, it's the same thing. We need visionary leaders who have a vision for the country. I mean, what's our vision for the UK?
Okay, I might ask you the same question. What is your vision for the UK?
Well, I'm not suggesting that I know, but I'll tell you this, that if I was the leader of the UK, my starting point would be this: what is my vision for the UK?
Okay, so that's got to be the first question for any leader.
And the answers would go something like this, that we want not an egalitarian society, but we want a society where people are treated like human beings. People are allowed to earn wealth, you know, to generate wealth and so on. But we can't have extreme wealth on one hand and dire poverty on the other. That's just not civilized. You know. So our leaders have to be visionary. I've never heard a single politician saying this kind of thing, that there's got to be a balance. You've got to generate wealth in order to be able to spend it. One set of politicians are saying, yeah, we're on the side of the wealth generators. The other guys are saying, we're on the side of the guys who are the have-nots. Come on, guys.
It's the same side, in your opinion?
I'm saying they're both on the same side. They have to be.
All right. Hang on a sec. Miro's had his hand up for quite a...
I'll soon have to go, but I think what Sir said is absolutely awesome, and maybe I would try to answer to this question. So my vision for the world would be that we should get back to our responsibility, get back to the morals in the social point of view, and in economics and in economics we basically need a new vision, new leaders. We need to consider all the technological development that is coming, which especially to me as a student of Imperial College London is absolutely important and mind-blowing. So I think that if we will be able to manage that traditional values, morals, responsibility that brought us to the greatest development we've had when we were pursuing this, especially in 19th century, for example, and we will be able to incorporate all the ideas and all the new things coming through the technology. We will be able to create a better world. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Miro. Okay, so this is Talkaoke, it's a free-form talk show. We started talking about Donald Trump, and then we started talking about, do we need a new form of politics? And we started talking about different people's ideas of what that might be. That's where we are right now, and we're talking a bit about leaders. Have our leaders got visions? Do we need leaders, or can it just be people that have got a vision? Martin?
So, politically, people are in politics essentially to ration services, because there are far more people and far less money than we need. So to make people happy, you have to effectively convince the mass, but ignore quite a number of people. So effectively, the only way out of this is to innovate, because we have to do what we do cheaper, simpler, better, so that more people can effectively live better. Because I don't think it's possible for any leader, however good, with the current resources, to do what needs to be done.
Okay, so the real answer to improving our lives is maybe not politics, but technology, to actually produce more stuff so that everyone's got what they need. That's what you're saying, Fed.
To make the things that are essential
available. Okay. Do chime in any time you want to if you've got a view on this.
Get the youngster's opinion.
Okay, well here's a youngster with his hand up, fairly young anyway.
Well, my vision for the UK would be, I think now the children of lords and of wealthy people are, Eton admissions. If you're the son of a lord, they are obliged to accept you as a legacy, as someone who will better the school's reputation. And I think that's the problem with British politics at the moment. It's not a meritocracy where someone who is good and has like a vision and some proper actual views which will benefit society gets to the top. It's the people who have the most money and therefore the most resources.
So it's not a meritocracy, it's about whoever has got the power right now and their children. Okay, any visions for the future? Have you got a vision for the future?
Not particularly. I mean, I'm not a politician, I wouldn't know what to say, but I think, especially when politicians are sort of with the debates and everything, they need to be talking about what they want for the country, because it seems that at the moment they just slag each other off, and that's kind of all they do, and try and make the other person look worse rather than make themselves look better.
Okay, so it's quite negative. They're not really talking about...
they should be bigging themselves up and saying what they're going to do for the country, how they're going to help us. Because I know a lot of politicians don't reach people our age. Like, a lot of people don't care because they think everyone's the same, everyone's sort of
it's a bit too negative for you.
not interesting us.
Why do you think it's got negative like that?
I don't know. I think it's probably, it might be how, how their schooling and, just the being higher classes and stuff.
Okay, so looking down in a way. Okay, have you got a vision? Vision?
Well, I think we're gonna leave soon to go to that building in a minute. But as a vision, I don't know what in terms of.
Well, I mean, this is. Sorry, what's your name again?
Sabrina.
This is what Sabrina was saying. Like a more positive, inclusive way of doing politics. That's more about saying how things can improve rather than slagging each other off.
Well, in terms of the Brexit, what I find difficult to understand is the actual facts, because one side comes up with a fact and then the other side always contradicts it or disagrees with it, and I don't know which side is telling the truth. Ever.
I mean, are there actually any facts involved? You don't think? Okay, so you'd like to see more facts.
Well, they're like on certain websites they say the facts. When you look from the facts, they're not facts. They're actually like predicting what's going to happen. They don't know what's going to happen.
It's not really a fact; it's a prediction. Okay, come and get involved in this. At the moment, we're talking about a new way of doing politics. Just Anurag, before you go, just tell us about your vision. Have you got a vision?
Not really. I'm not like into politics as much as people here, but no.
Would you rather leave it to the politicians?
I think sometimes they do have like biased opinions based on their parties and stuff, and they don't always consider everyone in the country, but they can't always do that. So I guess we'll have to leave it to them for now. But.
Okay, so you would leave it to.
I'd say leave it to them, but we need more enigmatic people to leave it to, because at the moment they're all a bit. Yeah.
Okay, you disagree?
I think that if you don't have an opinion, you don't have a say.
Right.
You have to stand up, be counted. This is the way I feel.
Yeah.
This is the way I feel about Europe.
Yeah.
And I don't like the way Europe is going at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm all for helping migrant people that really need the help. However, when they come into this country, they're escaping all the rules, the laws that they hate. But then they come to Britain, who want to help them, but they want to bring their own laws that they've just escaped from. I don't understand. Live by our rules, because clearly this is where you want to be. Don't try to push your laws, your religions onto us in this country, because you just escaped them. So I don't understand why we want to have Sharia law, and it's something that you just escaped from. Leave it behind, because clearly you're not happy with that. So forget about that. Just live by this law, this country who's willing to help you out financially.
Yeah, okay.
I think this is one of the problems with society and the voters, because they're not properly informed, because I don't think there's any real example of when people have been coming to the EU, or the UK in particular, as like refugees or even migrants, and properly pressuring governments to put in Sharia law. I just don't think it ever happens.
You don't think that's actually true?
No, they can vote, of course, but that's because they have.
Yeah.
You haven't been to other parts of London where there are communities, and I would say that they probably are British because they are born in Britain, but they take in their cultural beliefs and they force them upon the people in Britain. If you don't like Britain, you don't want to live by that law, don't come here, go back.
Okay.
So some opinions are very reasonable based on the facts, but unfortunately the facts themselves are not very clear. And as one very famous advert says, no data, no comment. So I think in our democratic society, there's no official and impartial stream of actual factual data. So people's decisions in democracy is based on a misinterpretation of poorly presented facts, I would say. And that tends to be a crowd-based, positive groupthink experience. So I think one thing we could do as innovators is improve the data stream of raw facts, like how many physical migrants have come here, what are their political parties, have they ever raised any political objections, for example.
All right, okay, so it seems like most people don't agree with this question that that there is an imposition of other cultures on a British culture. I
think what the lady was saying is quite valid in a way.
Yeah.
And I think what our politicians haven't done is taken account of what people really think.
Yeah.
Now, the UK is one of these countries which is happy to learn from others. You know, we grow by learning.
Yeah.
And if there's something in Sharia law that is worthwhile, we will pick it up and we'll run with it.
Yeah.
You know, but our politicians have to be aware of how the majority of people feel.
Yeah.
And that's something that they haven't done.
So they're not aware of that feeling of like, this is all changing too quickly. This is.
Yes. Well, what are the people's concerns? And we're too politically correct. I mean, that's one of the most stupid developments that we've had. You know, call a spade a spade. I'm quite happy for somebody to call me coloured, because that's what I am. You know.
Right.
So where's the problem?
Okay.
But our politicians are too wishy-washy about it.
Okay, so we're back to this question about we need politicians that are a bit more maybe brave to deal with these things. If people feel if people feel like things are changing too quickly, they need to deal with some of these questions.
So you say that these people shouldn't impose their ideas and religions onto us when we pretty much daily for the past 100 years have been putting out news, propaganda, films, Western films which reach the tips of the globe, and we strongly impose our culture on people who don't even want anything to do with the Western civilization. Our involvement with Afghanistan, they don't have to accept it in the same way we don't have to accept these religious, what you say is people in Brixton imposing their religious views. I think it's unfair for us.
We don't have to accept it either.
It's unfair for us to make a problem about it if we do that on a much greater scale to a lot more people.
Okay. Any views on this, though?
I do. I feel quite strongly, and some of the points that you raise are not really valid. We don't go to other countries to live there and say, right, you must be Christian, you must not be a Muslim. But when you get other countries, and I do apologise if I offend anyone who is not Christian, however, they come into the UK or Britain and they try to push their religion on someone else.
How do they do that?
I mean, there's like lots more mosques popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere you see, it's not you're English or you're British. You're a British Muslim. You're either, or you don't say you're an English Catholic or you're an English Christian. You just say you're British or you're Italian or you're German. I don't see the point.
So
you either come to this country, you abide by these rules in this country, and if you don't like it, don't come here. Because we're more than happy to support you if you're in need. And you disrespect us.
I just want to bring... I'll come to you in a second.
Well, I think the point about impact of foreign cultures and religions coming here is probably overstated. We are actually a very, very big community of something like 65 million people, and still the population of minority religions and cultures is quite small within that 65
million. What sort
of
percentage? Can you give us just
I think probably we're still 85% Anglo-Saxon Christian, and I don't think, I'm not normally somebody to quote John Major or the Tories, but about 20 years or so ago he said something interesting, and that was that I think 20 years from now, or 25 years from now, elderly ladies will still be riding their bikes to church and we'll still be drinking warm beer, and I think he's absolutely right.
Okay, so you don't feel necessarily too threatened by...
I don't feel threatened at all. Yeah. I don't feel threatened at all.
Okay, what do other people think? Come and get involved in this, come and have a say. Stay involved in this.
One little comment about what that lady was saying.
Yeah.
And I can see from the way she's speaking, and she's a very sincere person, actually. So that I wouldn't doubt for one moment that she believes in everything she's saying. But isn't it ironic that Britain spent a century doing exactly what she's accusing other people of doing? I'm not saying that's a good, it's a good thing.
What do you mean by that?
But by taking over the world, imposing Christianity on other people and so on, and in fact ruling them. What right did we have to go to Africa or to India or wherever? But we did.
Okay.
We've learned from our mistakes. We know that people shouldn't impose their will on others.
And now they come here.
Yeah.
And now they come from Africa and every other country in the globe to this country. So what do you say about that?
I take the argument that
okay, one at a time. One at a time. Hang. So, Boat, can I just ask? I want to get views from everybody. So, it was also about listening. So, Alex, what were you going to say?
Well, you were saying earlier about mosques popping up all over England as if it was a bad thing, as if people are imposing their religion, and that's potentially a very dangerous idea because we have churches popping up across Europe.
We have churches popping up across Europe?
Yes, but shops, a Starbucks may pop up in a very hipster area of Brixton. Are they imposing their idea of gentrification or whatever? Everyone's saying all these riots against the gentrification of these areas. I don't think so. I don't think it's fair to say just because a mosque is popping up in London, people are imposing their religion. And even if they are, we don't have to accept it.
And
as
what
you
about
mentioned.
the Starbucks popping up in Brixton?
People,
is that imposing a certain kind of culture?
Well, people get upset about that sort of thing. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of sort of localism which exists, and I understand entirely where it comes from, and naturally people are protective about their own cultures and environments, but frankly places like London and countries such as England have benefited enormously from migration, you know, and a lot of innovators have said, you know, if America hadn't taken me when I was a child migrating out of another country, I would never have invented the whatever it is. And you know, some of those things include I think Elon Musk at one point. So there are enormous benefits from social integration as long as it's functional and proportional, in my view.
So I'm just sort of like we've got mosques popping up, Starbucks popping up as well. People get offended by both. Come and sit down. Come and get involved in this. How do we react to these, I guess, developments? Not everyone is happy about it. Different people see it in different ways. How do we react to this? Is there a way to have a more, I guess, earlier on we were talking about more consensus-based politics. How do we get people to be more accepting about both of these phenomenons?
Well, one of the major pillars of a democratic society, quite obviously, is the press, the news media, and I actually think that they have a much more responsible and greater role to play in all of this. I mean, we can blame politicians in a way, but they're only being populist. They're only saying what they think will keep them in power, and to some extent, one can understand that. But, you know...
so you think the press is being alarmist about this?
Oh, very, very often indeed. I mean, you know, it is, I think, almost true to say that the Daily Mail runs the country. And they're scaremongering.
Yeah. Okay.
And sorry, to try and directly answer your question, what we can do about it is somehow create a news media in all media which is more responsible and which encourages more factual-based discourse.
Okay. I mean, but is it about the facts? Because earlier on we were talking about Brexit, and there was a guy, Adam, that said, actually, with the question of leaving the EU, it's not actually about facts, because everyone makes their predictions about what's going to happen, and the pro-EU people say, oh, life's going to be rosy in EU and horrible outside, and then the other people say the opposite. So is it about really facts, or is it about something else?
So making a decision, clearly you have to analyse the facts that are available to you. Now the problem is there are a lot of facts that are available to a lot of people, but they just don't see them or don't understand them. So that's the first battle. And then when you've seen all the data, it's a question of making a judgment. Now then some people make the wrong judgment, but at that level you can then start to invoke democracy. And then you select someone who's going to represent the solution. And now that's another choice you have in our current system. But unfortunately there are breaks and problems on each of those levels. And the first one is to start with the correct facts. In the same way that Pravda misrepresented the sort of Russian position, the BBC may not adequately represent the current position. And I think we need like an independency that's going to give us all the things we can think about.
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking about where I'm from in Shoreditch. There was a pret-a-manger popped up. And it used to be a kind of cool hipster surf shop cafe, and then it became a pret-a-manger, and I was very angry about that. It was, you know, it went in a way, it was an imposition, it's similar to the mosque popping up in a way. I had no say about that, and it was just part of.
If people didn't want the pret-a-manger, they wouldn't go there. So
I've been going there since then. Actually,
yeah, you know. So all this business about I don't want it on my doorstep.
Yeah.
Well, who's asking you to patronise it? Don't go there. You know, it's a free country. I mean,
Okay. So it's in a way.
And can I just say one more thing about Brexit?
Yeah.
One of the worst things that this government could possibly have done was to give a one-sided picture in that document that they produced. That's terrible. When you give the people a choice, you say, well, look, this is the choice. Here's the pro, here's the con.
Yeah.
They gave one side of the story and not the other.
Okay.
So what are we supposed to do?
So you've got a government that just gives one side of the story. That's not helpful. You've sat down. Do you want to say anything?
Okay. We are not English. We actually came to this country to study for a year.
Yeah.
I have experience doing exchanges, and I actually think that the main point is not you're not going to lose your culture if you face other cultures, or if you accept other people to have their culture at the same time as yours, as long as you are able to coexist. So as long as things are able to coexist you enrich yourself and you enrich the environment.
So it's about having these cultures coexisting, I suppose. I mean, all right. So where can I ask where you're from?
I'm from Spain.
Spain. Okay. Is there anything different about the UK that you don't have in Spain?
Fish and chips.
Fish and chips.
We have better food.
Yeah, better food. I mean, would you? Yeah.
You have fish and chips.
Okay, I mean, but you're basically saying these things can coexist. You can maybe have a tapas bar next to a chip shop, and it can work. It's basically what you're saying. Why does one thing stop the other thing from happening? I suppose. Okay. Yeah.
One of the most popular fast foods in the UK is actually curry.
Yeah.
Which, let's face it, is not British.
Okay, is curry British? What do people think?
Well, it is now. So you can have a chip curry, or you can have a a chicken korma, which I don't think exists in India.
Okay.
So something that's so important that seems to have been missed about this entire argument is that culture doesn't exist. It is fluid and dynamic, and that there is no such thing as a culture imposing their views on another. It does because everything changes. I mean, you could argue that the culture of the future imposed on the past, and that's why the 1960s happened. And it was all just it's all kind of emergent.
So you're saying that it keeps changing, basically.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's never the same.
I'm not a big fan of. I'll be happy to admit I'm not a big fan of. Any kind of imported religious imposition happening, but I feel that's a very tabloid-fed fear, and in reality, I just don't see it. I live in Whitechapel, where I'd argue is the heart of it, and honestly, there's some insularity in the culture, but it's not like rubbing off on the sort of the wider culture. And the other thing is, I mean, as someone who's descended from Celtics, I'm not too sure how I feel about churches popping up. They're a bit modern for me. Bit new.
So you're okay, so
sorry. I would just say something about imposing your culture to other people, and I don't think that has to do with where you're from.
Yeah.
I think that's just something that religious people do in general. Like they just try to.
So you think
it also happens in England.
Yeah,
if you go to Exhibition Road, you'll see that there are a lot of people coming to you trying to get you, trying to make you go to church. At least that has happened to me at least 3 times. Yeah.
Do you feel offended by that?
I don't feel offended. I just think that's something good for them, and that's something that they want to share.
So it's what religions do, basically, is they try and get more people involved in their religion.
Yeah, I don't think that's something that has to do with your culture, or at least that's what
So it's more about I guess a element of religion. All religions try and get more people into their club. Rowan, can you pass me that Diet Coke? Cheers, thanks.
Some religions actually insult people.
Yeah.
I've seen a video clip on YouTube, and it wasn't actually set up. About Muslim people actually going up to a young British female that was wearing just normal clothes, and because they were wearing the hijab or whatever, I don't know if that's the correct word, they were saying, "You're disgusting, you're not dressed properly, you're naked," and the women were really, really insulting her. You are in the UK. If you want to wear the hijab, I respect that.
Yeah.
But do not insult somebody in their own country wearing the clothes that you've always been wearing, and try to put your religion and your thoughts onto that person. We don't tell you, do not wear that hijab. We don't tell that.
So anyway,
but if you look on YouTube, there are quite a few occasions
where
that they've actually had that, and they've even told an English person. And I would say to you, go and have a look on YouTube. But they said, get out of this country. This is our country. I'm sorry, this is our country.
Okay, what other people think about that, Alex?
Well, sorry, I forgot what I was going to say now.
Okay, No.
I understand why you're angry about this. I think it's normal. But again, I don't think that's something that has to do with religion. I think that's something that has to do with people. There are stupid people in every single religion, and
so
the bad thing is that those people, we tend to believe that people represent our whole religion. I think that's.
So
it's a shame. It's a
bunch
shame, especially for those who don't behave like this.
Okay.
I think.
What are you going to say?
I think exactly what this woman was saying. You can't make a sweeping generalisation about a sector of people just because one person said that. Does not mean that all Muslims think that, and all Muslims So that's not, one person can't represent an entire religion or an entire nationality or even an entire gender. Like there are older people that have come up to me like, I'm not happy with what you're wearing. Does that mean that I hate all old people? No, that's just not how.
What have they been unhappy
how you
with?
can work. I mean, like it's the same as like I've had lots of different people from lots of different kind of cultures come up and say like, I'm not happy with the way that you've dressed. Like fashion and like culture, things change and things evolve. Like we haven't always been wearing this stuff in England. This is new stuff.
No one's got the right to be the fashion police. I mean, we started off actually talking about my shirt, didn't we? And people not liking that. All right. So, you know, Alex.
Okay, I remember what I was going to say. So you were saying how these Muslims were telling people they were disgusting for not wearing a hijab, where I think across the world, Christians and many other religions are very active in saying you can't be gay, you can't love another person of the same sex. And who are they to say that to another person? Personally, I feel you can love whoever you want, but it's not different because they're imposing their religious beliefs on someone else.
What should the rule
who doesn't
be?
Want their
What should the rule be then? As
long as it's not offensive, you can believe what you want, which is the law at the moment.
Okay.
People can coexist where they're tolerant. So if the core tenet of the religion is to wipe out other people, then that's not reasonable. But where people are reasonable and they have different cultural beliefs, that's fine. And that's how we all coexist, isn't it? And that's probably the way to leave it, I would have thought.
Right. I just want to, I'm leaving now, but I'd like to make a couple of observations. First of all, this kind of forum is so enjoyable, and you handle it so well. I mean, I have to say.
Thank you.
The other thing I have to say is this, that when I was your sort of age, I was nowhere near as perceptive and as intelligent as you seem to be. So I think the world is doing something right. You know, our younger people are getting just so much better, so much more perceptive. And I'm not trying to flatter you or anything, but I'm impressed. Especially
yeah, he's a chip off the old block.
All right, Carlos has a group hug now.
He's my son.
Okay, right. So, in fact, maybe it is actually time, I think, just to get some final thoughts on this session, because we're going to stop about an hour ago, and then we went through all the Donald Trump politics and all of that stuff. So maybe let's just get some final. We will be back, and Rowan's going to be in the middle of the table at that point. So, can we get some final thoughts? What do people think?
I think proportionality is the response. I just think people overreact to problems which are containable, manageable, and just with some decent dialogue and a little bit of understanding and tolerance can be overcome quite easily. And I think actually what we saw in the last day or two with the election of the first Islamic mayor was very interesting because it seemed to me, in spite of the negative campaigning and all of the negative stories going on really about different ethnic and religious groups, somebody from a minority has come forward and is leading London. I think that's very encouraging. It shows that fundamentally I believe we are tolerant.
Okay.
Final thought. My grandmother was a Second World War generation, and they had similar arguments then about Greeks and Hungarians and so forth moving into England. I am quarter Irish, quarter English, quarter Iraqi, quarter Saudi, brought up to be half Catholic, half Muslim, and I hope I'm the future.
Okay.
I think innovation's the future, because a lot of the problems we're discussing hopefully will become less important.
Okay, so is this a data issue? You've kind of said it is, so we know that. Okay. Final thought?
For the governments to be more honest, more truthful, and for other people not to try to impose their religions, but let's try to live together as one, really.
Okay, final thought?
Final thought?
Yeah.
All right, if they cancel all the religion, there will be no more religion in the world.
Yeah.
The world will be more peaceful.
Okay, so no religion would be more peaceful, okay? Final thought?
Just, I think everyone should be respectful.
Yeah. Okay.
I think coexist is the best way.
Okay.
Culture's an ever-changing thing. I mean, that's the point of culture.
Yeah.
And it's right to be having these discussions and to be moving forward, but also to be accepting of the new influences that are coming in. I mean, like once upon a time we had the Vikings coming in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like that's what happens.
Do you think there were similar things with the
Probably, but at the end of the day, everyone's chill with that now, so why can't we just move that on?
Okay. All right, so we accept Vikings now. All right. Final thought?
I've got a lot of thoughts, but I think mainly freedom of speech is a really good thing, but it's also very dangerous as like it can incite arguments.
Yeah.
And I just think we ought to all keep that in mind.
What's bad about that?
Well, it's just it causes unnecessary tensions because we have the ability to speak what we want. We can because there are lots of societies where they're not as they can't benefit as much as we can from freedom of speech, freedom of information, and while there are so many good things about freedom of speech, there's also a few, very few, but very dangerous things about freedom of speech.
Which is what?
The fact that you can say pretty much whatever you want.
So do you think you should still be allowed to say whatever you want?
Yeah, but I just think some people should bear that in mind.
That it's dangerous.
Yeah, and
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've been dealing with that danger for many, many years, going around getting people to say what they want. So far, it's not been that dangerous, I have to say. I mean, it's not down to me to give opinions, but so far I can say from the data, I've not actually been in any danger from allowing people to say whatever they think. So yeah, anyway, so that's my final thought, I suppose. But we will be back very shortly after some snacks, and we'll probably be talking about something completely different, but maybe we won't. Who knows? So do come back very, very shortly, and Rowan will be in the middle. And thanks very much. Thanks to Rick on camera.